Hello, and welcome to week 6 of your Troy Literature course. I hope that many of you are getting more and more comfortable with literature, and I definitely can see that as we're going through the course materials. Sorry about that. So I definitely can see it. Just a big FYI, the midterm is proctored, and it is available to until the 21st at midnight. So right now it is currently the 15th, so you do have some time. I purposely gave you more time than just week 6 because I know that it can be hard to get into ProctorU, and it can also be a little bit stressful if you've never used it before. So once again, you are available. The midterm is available until the 21st. What this means is that this week we don't have any readings. There are no required postings or anything along those lines, because what you're really going to be doing is working on taking your midterm. As I've mentioned in emails and also on the other video, is you can bring in your book, you can bring in your notes, and you can bring in any kind of hard copy printouts of the discussion postings, commentary, etc. that you want to bring in. So it really does kind of come down to taking that initiative and making sure that you're very well prepared for the midterm. Now, what you will want to make sure that you're doing is interrogating and interpreting. The midterm is a series of short answers, so this means you're going to want to make sure that you write well and that you kind of consider how a paragraph functions and those kind of extraneous but important parts of being in this class and discussing literature. As I mentioned, we don't have any assignments for this week, so if you've already taken your midterm, then you've got a little bit of time to yourself. If you have not taken your midterm, then this is a great time for you to prepare and to really take the initiative to become comfortable with it. We will reconvene in 7 and then 8 and 9. What I'd like to do now is just kind of briefly touch on some of the observations that you guys made in week 5's section on modernism. I found a lot more enthusiasm for these readings than the poetry, so I really applaud you guys for taking the initiative and kind of working through them. I know that the poetry can be difficult and can be arduous because it takes multiple readings or multiple rereadings for you to get really comfortable with it, so I do understand that. Many of you mentioned that you had some tension with modernism because of its turning, as Tina mentioned, Walters mentioned, that it turns traditional modes of representation and it's playing with this experimentation, which kind of unsettles that kind of groundwork of understanding that we've achieved. Renee also mentioned that, but Renee, like many of you, also mentioned that the works were accessible in a way because we are, in our hearts, very modernist. We understand this sensibility a lot more than we might understand realism or even naturalism. The same with the Williams reading, William Watson's reading, particularly with Sherwood Anderson. And Sherwood Anderson, who I think his birthday was like 2 days ago, he would have been 116. He really does have a sense of tension in the story, particularly in Hands. The same tension appears also in Hemingway, in a lesser or a different kind of extent. And this was something that Travis brought out in reference to the snows of Kilimanjaro, this idea of looking back and this kind of pain of looking back. And also Travis is the tension in F. Scott Fitzgerald's Babylon Revisited, this idea of the effects of alcohol on this, I guess you'd say, the experience. Shanita Rocky Moore's posting was fantastic this week. I really applaud you for taking that initiative. And if you do this type of work, if you do what Shanita did with her posting on the midterm, you'll have no problems. really achieving not just a great grade, but a great understanding. Flower. The same with Virgil. I think Virgil's observations were good. I would have liked to see a little more evidence support, quotes or observations, but I think it's definitely a great start there. I applaud Stephanie. Stephanie did a very interesting thing. As she did this weaving of modernism through the snows of Kilimanjaro Sunday morning, and then kind of thinking about this notion of fate and this notion of shifting, which is a very shifting. April hosting, also fantastic. Another model that I would suggest using in a sense for your midterm. It definitely kind of focuses on explanation. Anthony Daniels had some great connection. I like that the focus in Flowering Judas was on the major symbol. One of the elements of modernism is, of course, symbolic representations, imagery, etc., and that definitely is hit on in Anthony's. And even I really saw it also operating in Modesties. Now, I do think, and I applaud Modesty for doing the kind of the reading of the modernist poets, which is excellent. I think it's important to interpret those. I do also think it's important for us to push beyond just a basic interpretation, too. Gregory had a great kind of connection. The idea that modernism is difficult is key. Remember, modernism is a reaction to a bunch of horrible events. It's a reaction to World War I. It's a reaction to this warfare on this global scale. It's a reaction to Sigmund Freud's thoughts that we no longer control our mind, that there is this underlying tension within us. It is also a reaction to Friedrich Nietzsche's text, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which